Hey guys, welcome to this battle report. Today we've got 1750 points, Maelstrom of War mission, and we're going to be playing Space Marines of the Salamanders chapter against Orks of the Death Skull clan. This is mission 2, or part 2, of the Battle for 8 Armies tournament. Doesn't make too much of a difference to the battle report. If you just want to watch this as a battle report, it's fine. You don't need to know what's going on. But for those of you who have been following the Battle of 8, this is the second mission, and the winner of this will be fighting the Khorne Demonkin in the next round. Haven't rolled for mission yet, but let's pan out and have a look at the battlefield. So back on my Maelstrom of Citadel Realm of Battle board, and as you can see, we've got the hills on either corner and this valley running through the middle here, upon which has been built this imperial city, which has then been ruined by the Orks. Terrain's pretty spread out. There's a lot of gaps in between the buildings, but plenty of buildings to take advantage of. One thing of particular note here is we've got the Ork hospital over this side. The Orks have clearly been here long enough to set up shop, and yeah, we've got some nice Ork barricades as well. But anyway, for a full list of the armies, have a look at the previous video that's in the description on the introduction to the Battle of 8 Armies. But for now, let's get on with deployment. So for our mission today, we rolled up Spoils of War, which is Dawn of War deployment, and allows you to steal your opponent's objectives if they're marked score objective number X. So going to be very much about taking board control and picking up your objectives. Orks got to choose deployment zone, and I decided to let Sam deploy his Orks first because I wanted to see where they were going to go. So over here we've got a truck full of boys, bike squad, Gorkanaut full of burner boys, and up on the hill behind that a whole squad of custom mega cannon mech guns. Then his battle wagon in the centre contains his big mech and his mega knobs, and then behind this building we've got 3 trucks. 2 of them contain regular boys, and then that one, based on the land speeder model, contains tank busters. He's only got 1 objective in his deployment zone. The main 4 objectives are in the middle there, right across the middle of the table, so it's going to be interesting about claiming that. Now for my Space Marines, got 1 land speeder on the far corner here behind the Ork hospital. The other one is deployed behind the Land Raider, and most of my army's deployed across a fairly narrow front here. Got Land Raider full of Terminators, Dreadnought, Tactical Squad with melter weapons. Then we've got a squadron of 3 Predators, all with las cannons, sitting up on the hill with a nice fire arc across the battlefield at the Ork vehicles. And then another Rhino, that one's got the Flamer Tactical Squad in and the Librarian. He rolled for telepathy powers and got Dominate, Psychic Shriek and Mental Fortitude. And then I've got a Min Tactical Squad in a las cannon Razorback over on the far side there. At the moment Orks have first turn, but let's see if the Salamanders can steal the initiative. It's a 3. No, initiative not stolen. On to Ork, turn 1. So Orks took first turn, and for Sam's objectives he had secure objective 3, which is right up on the hill there by the mech guns, so that's nice and straightforward. He also had hold the line and Kingslayer. Now hold the line was pretty straightforward, with these trucks conversions being quite long and the Gorkanaut having a sort of wide base. He was able to just leave the back ends of them within 12 inches of the board edge, so he scored that easily. Now in terms of what he actually did, Bikes and Truck came down here looking to sort of have a look at objective 2, even though it wasn't an objective he needed to score yet. It's worth getting on it and getting some cover with them, and they took out this lone land speeder for first blood as well, so that's a 3-point turn for the Orks there. Over in the centre, the mech guns and the Gorkanaut fired at the Rhino and the Dreadnought. Rhino was the primary target, but some of it scattered onto the Dreadnought. He managed to put a hull point on each, immobilise the Rhino and blow the arm off the Dreadnought. So yeah, not a good turn for these guys. He started to reduce my mobility already. And then the tank busters fired at the Predators along with the kill cannon from the battle wagon, and managed to blow one up through just sheer weight of hull point damage. So seriously good first turn for the Orks there. He's taken out 2 vehicles, mobilised one and blown the multi-melter off another, so he's taken an early advantage. I'm beginning to regret letting him have first turn. My thinking was I'll be able to see where they are. They're only Orks, they don't have much long range shooting, but no, apparently these Orks do have some good long range shooting. But anyway, let's see if the Space Marines can come back for this. Space Marine, turn 1. Okay, so as the Space Marines started to move out, I had 3 objectives to achieve. Secure Objective 5, which is up in the top of that building. Secure 6, which is nice and handily down here. And Harness the Warp. Now, Harness the Warp, I thought, oh, that'll be great. I've got a Librarian, he can cast Psychic Power, no problem. Moved him up into position in his Rhino, and then realised that I couldn't actually cast a Psychic Power because Dominate and Mental Fortitude can't be cast out of a transport, and the other telepathy power, Psychic Shriek, was going to be needed a target that wasn't a vehicle, and at that point all his units that were in range were still in their transports. So yeah, couldn't actually do that one, which is a right pain, but I did manage to achieve a few things that turn. The Dreadnought that's lost its arm scuttled across here to claim Objective 6. And then the tactical squad in this Rhino and this land speeder fired on the battle wagon, managed to do nothing. I would have put a hull point on it, but the big mech's force field saved it. Over here the Predators exacted revenge on the tank busters and blew their truck up, and then the resulting explosion killed 6 of the tank busters and left them pinned. And then the Rhino added its firepower. The guys inside killed another one, bolt of fire. Over here, Razorback squad moved up. Razorback fired on the truck, and the tactical squad ran up to claim Objective 5. Now, unfortunately, the truck passed its cover save. No, it didn't. No, it didn't pass its cover save, but only took 1 hull point off it rather than wrecking it. So not a great first turn, but an all-right start for the Space Marines. But let's see how the Orks can come back in turn 2. So as we go into Ork turn 2, Sam's got 3 objectives to achieve this turn. He needs to score Objective 1, Objective 4 and Objective 2. And as you can see, he's been able to move units into these. This truck was the hardest one to get. He had to turbo boost it from across there. So movement pretty much tied up his objectives, and that left him with shooting to go on with. The biggest action was from the custom mega cannons up on the hill, fired over here at the Dreadnought and the Rhino. Didn't do any damage to the Dreadnought, but the scatter onto the Rhino took that out. And so the Marines got out, passed their pinning test, they're all fine, and they've set up in the building here. The Gorkanaut tried to take out the Dreadnought, but despite getting a good number of hits, managed to completely fail to penetrate the Ancient Warrior's armour. So Dreadnought is still very much angry. Over here we had this truck and the bikes, and also the battle wagon, all shot for this one lone land speeder. And he jinked and managed to pass a crap ton of jink saves and ended up with only losing a hull point. So it's a lot better than the previous land speeder, so he's good to go. And the tank busters, the 3 left in the ruins there, snapshot at the Predators and failed to do any damage. I think they actually failed to hit at all. Other than that, there wasn't a great deal more to be said for the Ork turn. He scored all 3 of his points, and he took out a tank, but his shooting wasn't quite as deadly as it had been before. But anyway, let's see if the Space Marines can use this window of opportunity to capitalise on the situation. Space Marine turn 2. So, Space Marine turn, objectives. Secure 1, secure 3, and harness the warp left over from last turn. So 1's right in the middle there, 3's in the back line. So my first move was to turbo boost the land speeder right the way over there. I know it's not objective secured, but at least it's contesting that objective, and meaning the Orks are going to have to deal with it next turn if they want to secure objective 3 and steal the point as per the scenario rules. First and foremost, I moved up the Land Raider into the side arc of the battle wagon. Blew the cannon off with the multi-melter, and then the assault cannon blew it up. So that is One truck I'm not going to have, or one wagon I'm not going to have to deal with anymore, and it's left the mega knobs out on foot. Also fired off my flamestorm cannon with the machine spirit, and managed to burn 3 boys from that truck there. Then the Predators, the tactical squad, and the Stormbolter from the Rhino fired, and combined managed to take down 2 more Orks. They all actually need to take a leadership test, I think, which we still need to do.
They're fine.
It's a 7, they're fine, that's cool. Librarian managed to get off Psychic Shriek this turn at the Tankbuster boys in the ruins, but unfortunately they rolled a 111 for their their leadership test, so they're absolutely fine. But I still harnessed the warp. And over on this side, the flamers from the Rhino were just in range to touch that truck and torched 8 of the occupants and took a hull point off it. Meanwhile, the Razorback does what my Razorback tends to do and rolled a 1 to hit, and then a 1 to hit on the reroll. Good work there. Tactical squad fired on the truck but failed to penetrate the armour. And then to try and get objective 1, I ran with the Dreadnought. It's lost its shooting arm, so might as well run it, but got a really poor run roll and left me out of range of the objective. So unfortunately, for all the good shooting work my army did that turn, I've actually only scored 1 point for Harness the Warp. And I can't discard these because of the scenario type, and my worry is I'm going to lose both of these to the Orks next turn. But, you know, we're in a strong position now. The transports are starting to go down, the battle wagon is dead, and it's still pretty even on table control at the moment. But let's see what happens in Ork turn 3. Okay, so for turn 3, the Orks had to score objective 3, which is on their back lines, number 2, which is down here under the truck, and number 6, which is under this truck here. So he turbo boosted this truck over here to claim 6, but it's only contested because there's a tactical squad there and both units are objective secured, so that one is still very much contested. Securing number 6 was... securing 2 was easy, he just parked a truck on it, there's no Marines in that whole end of the table. And over here he had to use the truck and all the bikes to fire at the land speeder to take it out to claim 3. Now claiming 3 was actually worth double because that was one of my objectives as well, so with the mission he was able to steal that from me, and he was also able to steal objective 1 with the tank busters. For movement, the shooter boys, Mega Knobs and the Gorkanaut moved up to the Land Raider. They then assaulted it in the assault phase, brought it down to 1 hull point but didn't manage to kill it. And then the tank busters scurried over here, claimed that objective and fired at the Dreadnought and blew that up. So yeah, he was able to pinch objective 1 from me. So really good turn of scoring for the Orks, but not a lot of damage. They blew up a land speeder and put a hull point on, brought the Land Raider down to 1 hull point. Unfortunately, it's only for them. It's only crew shaken, and it's got extra armour, so it can still function perfectly normally this turn. This truck here, whole load of boys fired at the tactical squad in the ruins, and I got jammy with my armour saves and passed all my saves for that. So yeah, although the Orks are taking a lead on points, it's a bit closer when it's down to table control, and I've still got a lot of firepower, and I think the Terminators might be showing up this turn. But on to Space Marine, turn 3. Okay, so for the Space Marine turn, we had Hold the Line, we had Secure Objective Marker 3, and I also had No Prisoners, which is just kill stuff. Turn started badly. The Land Raider tried to shimmy over to the side. I couldn't back up because the truck was there, so I had to shimmy into the dangerous terrain and rolled a 1 for my dangerous terrain test. And actually, because it was only on 1 hull point, that's wrecked the Land Raider. So all the hard work, the Orks failed to kill it, and just moving over a low wall wrecks the tank. So yeah, that's just the start we didn't need. But the Terminators got out, and with Hold the Line I had to clear all the Orks out of my deployment zone, so we went straight for this truck. Killed most of the occupants with flamers, but then didn't manage to wreck it that job fell to the Razorback, that redeemed itself for last turn's terrible shooting. Nice clean cut las cannon shot over the top, wrecked it. So that's out of play now. Terminators then assaulted over it to kill the last of the Orks from the inside. Even got lucky and passed a power claw save from my invuln. So yeah, those Terminators have had a good day so far. There was another truck sitting here, sitting on objective 6, right in front of twin las cannon Predators, so that lasted all of about 2 seconds. And then the knob got shot down by fire from the tactical squad still holding up in their Rhino there. Psychic phase, the Librarian managed to shoot out a Psychic Shriek at the Mega Knobs and put a wound on one of them. They then lost another of their number to the Multi-Melter shot from here. So although the Orks are still up on points at this stage, they are starting to take some serious casualties now. Points-wise, I managed to score Hold the Line, and with 2 trucks and 2 boys mobs, I got D3 for no prisoners, which I rolled a 4 for, so that's another 2 points. Orks then are still likely to score objective 3 again, and the Space Marines are pushed back into the corner here, but we've got a lot of resources left. If we can deal with the Orks, we can get to the objectives and still make a game of this. But that Gorkanaut is looking somewhat menacing there. My Terminators did use their consolidation move to try and keep as much distance between themselves, the Mega Knobs and the Gorkanaut as possible, but it might not be enough to save them. But let's see what happens in Ork turn 4. Okay, so the next Ork turn, they had overwhelming firepower, secure objective 6, and secure objective 1. Now, holding objective 1, nice and straightforward, he's moved his Mega Knobs close to it, and his Warlord trait means that he actually scores 2 for that one. And up on the hill, securing objective 3, again, we've got those custom Mega Cannons. Thankfully, they were actually out of range of anything useful this turn, so they've not been able to contribute to the game as much as they would, but they've held that objective for him. Bike squad swooped round here along with the trucks and fired on the Terminators, wiped out all bar one of them. Just goes to show Terminators 2-up armour just isn't that good anymore. They just keep failing it. They need like a 2-up, 4-up rerollable to be kind of useful, I think, these days. They're just not what they should be. Gorkanaut fired on the Rhino and blew that up. Thankfully didn't do any damage to the guys inside, and they're not pinned, and I put them to the back of the Rhino to keep them out of range of the cannons. Gorkanaut then tried a charge, but it was 11 inches and he didn't make it. Other than that, that was about it. Objective-wise, he scored overwhelming firepower, objective 1 for 2 points, and stole objective 3 from me. But objective 6, I think I'm going to be able to claim next turn. Time's getting on in terms of game turns, but we're making progress with dealing with the Ork menace here, but there's just so many of them. I don't know if my Marines can kill them all before the game ends. Okay, so Space Marines penultimate turn, because we're going to wrap this up after 5 for the sake of time. I've got Blood and Guts, Ascendancy and Psychological Warfare. I also needed to steal Objective 6 from Sam. So Objective 6 is over here, nice easy steal for the tactical squad. Other movement, the Terminator ran over here to try and get close to Objective 4, but knowing he'd need to assault the bikes to do it. And over here, the tactical squad moved up out of the out of the Rhino to fire on the Mega Knobs. Combination of Psychic Shriek, this tactical squad, this tactical squad, and the guys in the ruins managed to only put 3 wounds on the Mega Knobs, so took one out and left another one dead. Now Sam still needs to take a leadership test for that in a moment, but hopefully they'll fall back, but more likely they're going to stand and fight. And the one lone Terminator got his charge off, but then failed his saves from the Orks attacks. And so yeah, that means I couldn't score Objective 4, so we've not got Ascendancy. Also not scored Blood and Guts. Or Psychological Warfare will be determined by leadership tech, so we'll do that in a second. and the Predators fired on the Gorkanaut, but only put 1 hull point on it, which he's probably going to repair next turn because he's got grot riggers on there. And yeah, so things are looking tough for the Marines now. It's just not quite going to plan. But let's see what happens in Ork turn 5. Okay, so he took that leadership check that he needed to do, and those guys have actually failed. So I've scored psychological warfare, and the Mega Knobs are running back 10 inches. So that's at least one small victory I can claim there. As this battle draws to its conclusion, the Orks have drawn behind enemy lines, score objective 4, and assassinate. So he needs to kill a character. Got these boys out of their trucks, so they're now 2 units, and they're scoring behind enemy lines. Bikes have made that up to D3, so that is... He did only roll a 2 for that in the end, though, so it's just the 1 point, but that's that claimed. Secure objective 4, he's also doing with the bikes. Now, over here, these guys rallied. The cannons are out of range, so they didn't really do a lot, and it was all down to the Gorkanaut. Fired at and then charged the Marine squad, left them with only 5 guys left. But they're still there, so he's not killed them or killed a character, but he scored another 2 points. And let's see what happens in Space Marine turn 5. Okay, so at this point we are calling it. The Space Marines' objectives were Ascendancy, Overwhelming Firepower, and Secure Objective 4. While I could do Overwhelming Firepower, and there's still a chance of getting Warlord, the Orks have now got 15 points to my 7, and it's just too late to swing this game the other way. There's not enough time to wipe them out. So it's going to go down as an Ork victory. Yeah, it was a good game, and it was closer than the result suggests. I think if a few rolls had gone a little bit different mid-game, might have gone the other way, but it shows what I said in the intro video to this. My Marines are an army that really needs some work, both in terms of how I use them and what's in the army. The Predators did kind of well. He was very lucky with his saves from the custom force field, otherwise they'd have had a bigger impact on the game. But the Land Raider, although it is tough and it does damage, it's just becoming a bit of a point sink, and Terminators are just going down too easy. But well played to Sam. He used his army's manoeuvrability really well to grab all the objectives when he needed them, and cripple my manoeuvrability by blowing up my land speeders and keeping my tanks penned in here. So well played. That's going to be an Ork victory, which means that the Orks will now play the Khorne Demonkin in round 2 of the tournament. Yeah, hope you like this battle report. Feel free to leave any comments in the comments section about particularly what I could do differently with my Space Marines. Obviously want to keep them as salamanders, and I need to start working on a demi company, but any tricks for how I can get the most out of them, feel free to leave them in the comments. Thanks a lot. Bye. Okay, so we had to call that after 5 turns because we ran out of time. Unfortunately, the real world has this nasty habit of getting in the way of important things like gaming, but it was very clear from that point that it was going to be a very conclusive victory for the Orks. So with that win, the Orks of the Death Skull clan do what the Orks of the Evil Sons couldn't do and advance into round 2. Now, in round 2, they're going to be playing against the Demons of Khorne, so it's another Ork army for the Demons to face off against, and let's see if they'll have the same result as previously, or will Orks of a different clan have a better outcome. Join us again for the next battle of the Battle of 8 Armies.